Dude, is that a fucking Bud Light? Cheers.
Okay, I'm pouring mine in
Happy
a
first
glass.
podcast.
Cheers. Thank you. This is my first podcast with the first beer that I've had since I found out I was pregnant. So it's been about a year since I had a beer. So weird
Oh,
holding
enjoy
it
it.
in my hand. All right, I'm gonna have a sip and then we'll start. Okay, so I'm gonna start by explaining how Lucas and I met. The first time we met was at State Line Trial. What year was that? That was
That was
2022.
20. Was it 22?
Yeah, it was the fall of 2022. I
Yep.
was competing with Savvy and he was competing with Elvis. It was notable for me because I was a photographer for that trial, and when his dog was biting, I remembered Lucas immediately because when you have a dog that bites like that and he's fluffy, it's pretty hard not to remember.
Then I think it was like 2 weeks later, I came up to your guys' club, Jersey Devils, and then I entered. I think it was because you guys had regionals up there, so I
Yeah,
trialed Saturday. Saw you and John up there again, and then we officially met again at the Hella Canine seminar
7.
in 2023. Sherrod asked me to suit up, and then I think I was working
Fuego.
Riker and Fuego.
Yeah. So I didn't even know that Lucas decoyed, let alone that he had a suit. And I think Sherrod mentioned something about like wanting another decoy. And I think you were just like, "Hey, like I
Yeah, I
have
got
this."
my suit.
We all just kind of looked at each other like, "Oh, like he actually like knows how to catch a dog and work a dog." So from there, our friendship just kind of blossomed. Um, we started training a lot together because I feel like we just have really similar training styles. When I say we, I'm just talking about us as a collective unit, like Lucas, his wife, Megan, Dave, and then John and I just kind of mesh really well together. And then all of the boys that we train with are very, what's the word I want to use? Immature, but in a fun way. Like it makes club fun. You know, everyone's always cracking jokes 24/7. So we got really close last year over the summer. John and I were actually, no, just I was competing at his trial. So we were pretty much just training together constantly. So that's how we met. Now we still train together, stuff like that. So let's just get right into it.
Our first year was really just a foundational year as far as I think we hosted like 3 seminars they were all open, kind of drew some people into club, and then we had no way of signing up. It was just show up, work dogs. That was our club for the first year. So end of February will be 2 years, and our whole process and club is drastically different.
How many members did you have last Thursday morning, Lucas?
Was it 37?
37 on a Thursday morning. As far as actually starting the club, how did you structure it? How did you determine club dues? What was your process there?
Oh, man, people ain't gonna like this. So I just had a conversation with someone today actually about starting a club, and so when we first started back in 2022, I didn't have any real way of getting people to come out the club. I didn't have a club. I had 2 dogs that had to get worked. I was working on I got a puppy. The club that I got them from disbanded almost immediately after having those puppies.
Oh, wow.
And so I had nowhere to work my dogs. I had nowhere to really keep sharpening the sword as far as like decoy skills go. And after inquiring to a multitude of places to see if they had openings for club members, I just came to the realization that I should probably just start a club. I think I did a pretty good job single-handedly developing Megan's dog Rhea. That was the dog I brought up as far as decoying goes and coaching
Hey,
her. So
look at that.
I thought I had
Matching the cues.
well, that's what we're trying. We're trying for those threes. Um, but as far as the right tools in the toolbox, I really thought I had it. So I went on a whim and I shot out a couple Facebook posts, a couple messages to people, and it took a little time. I think the first couple times I posted on Facebook, no one really responded. But Megan and myself, and I think one other person would get together. We took some videos, got some pictures. We eventually, just kind of after things weren't really coming to fruition how we wanted them. I mean, we didn't want a huge club at the time. We just wanted a group of people to train with. After starting like the Shogun Working Dog Club page, getting pictures, some videos, especially of Raya, just because, I mean, you guys know she's an awesome dog to watch, especially in bite work. I had our Shogun working dog Facebook DMs was like full. Like, where do you guys train at? Who do I reach out to about coming out? How do I set it up? And then pretty much after that, it kind of it
Blew
went
up.
it went bonkers. By the summer
Power
of
of social media.
2022, what'd you say?
The power of social media.
That's what it was. And I mean, good word of mouth. I think our first couple people that we had actually come out after like Megan and the initial crew were really, it wasn't really social media. They were just going back to places they trained during the weekdays, and word of mouth really, I mean, it spread like wildfire. Because
Yeah.
by the summer of 2022, I had 18 club members.
Wow.
And so now the thing that I did that most people probably wouldn't agree with is I just didn't charge money the first couple months I was running Shogun. I have I don't think I have it anymore. I had a major case of like imposter syndrome when I
Mhm.
first started. I just didn't think I was good enough to charge people money in the beginning.
Yeah.
Once I kind of the proof was in the pudding kind of thing, and Megan was trialing, I was trialing with Elvis at the time, and a couple like I think it was like 3 months I didn't charge any money. After watching those dogs improve drastically over the first 3 months, I was like, I have no problem charging money. So it wasn't a lot. It's still, I mean, by club standards and PSA standards, I don't charge a lot of money. I am very very cheap. Our club dues today are $400 for the year, and then I charge a per dog per day club fee, which is 30, which ain't shit.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as club dues, I think it's very dependent on the individual club. I see a lot of people asking in the PSA group like what are, average prices. Newer clubs are the ones that I see charging more, in my opinion. That's just what I've noticed. I'm
Same.
not
I
sure.
see a lot of I for sure see a lot of new clubs pop up, definitely charging a lot more money than well-established clubs. I mean, I've definitely heard of a few clubs charging, $1,000 every 6 months, which I still don't think is $200 a month. I don't think is outrageous or whatever. That comes out to
No,
180.
definitely not.
Um,
Especially, decoys are putting their bodies on the line. I mean, some clubs pay their decoys. No club I've ever been a part of has paid their decoys.
I mean, our goal at Shogun. I mean, we are trying to get our when we have more certified decoys. I am trying to get our decoys paid.
Yeah,
There's no reason I'm taking pay. I mean, I know I run the club, but that's what club dues are for. But that per day fee, that's for the decoys that are coming out.
you're putting your body on the line every day, getting bit. I'm sure your left bicep probably has permanent nerve damage by
Oh, my
now.
left bicep's pretty jacked right now.
So let's get into the club atmosphere. So what were you aiming for in terms of atmosphere? Like, what was your overall goal with the vibe that you guys kind of have?
So I didn't have a vision for what club was supposed to be, because the club that I was a part of before I started Shogun, like, dismantled. Uh, it was there's never consistent people coming out to club. It was always someone different. But from social media, having friends in other clubs, the goal was at some level just to build a community, a supportive community of people that backed you, communicated, but having a club should be a great time. You should go
Yeah,
out Sunday, and it should be awesome. I mean, you guys come out to club. I think for what 8 hours, 9 hours every Sunday, all we do is fuck around. We
laugh,
joke,
roast each other.
right? Oh yeah, right, yeah. It rains every time you guys decide to come out, but
Right?
um, outside of that though, I think on top of that too is prioritizing the work.
Yeah,
People do outside of us that do this for a living. People do take their Sundays off. I mean, we have people that drive 4 or 5 hours to come to our club,
that's
and
awesome.
instead of just jerking around the whole time, joking around, laughing, it is important to prioritize the work. So as
Yeah,
the the atmosphere we wanted was serious but fun.
yeah,
That was what we
productive,
aimed for,
but
and
having a good time in the process.
yep, and I think we got it. I think we did. The group of people we have right now, it's been a little hilly to get here, but the group of people we have right now, I think, is awesome. What's up, buddy? The cameraman.
I know.
But yeah, the group of people we have right now is, I mean, they're awesome. They I have a lot of people that are super dedicated. I mean, a lot of people that are super dedicated just to getting it right, learning.
Yeah.
Um, for example, I don't want to touch. I don't know if this is one of your questions coming up, but one of our uh, one of our things that we do with our club is we have once a month right now we do a handler's development and a decoy development, and that's on a Saturday night. So
So
last, I think our last handler's development, every club member almost came out to it. So it's free of charge. I don't really charge our club members for it, and they come out, and it's basically just an open forum for people to have issues. You can bring your dogs. It's not guaranteed. It's on a club day, right? We're not guaranteed to work dogs, but luring, leash handling, commands, markers. It's almost like a mini seminar, but just for our club.
that's awesome. I never heard about that before. Did you get that idea from another club, or did you think of that?
No, that was something that I was just sitting down one day, and I was like, I had a lot. When we started, I mean, I think this is probably one of your questions coming up too. Is we did not filter out club members. We took in everyone. I wasn't looking for the best of the best. I was just looking for people that wanted to work dogs. And with that comes the experience of handling, the lack of. And so with that, I think a couple club days went by and I was like, all right, I got people that don't know what like fading out means, fake choke offs, cradling. I wanted to get everyone on the same page, same terminology. And just for example, just the little difference between me and John, when I say tight loose, I think John says walk in. And
Yeah.
just that little difference, just sometimes all my club members have picked up on it when we train together, but
Yeah.
just that little difference, that makes that timing of tight loose on a leash or walking in makes
Yeah.
a huge difference on the result you're getting on from your dog.
Absolutely.
So like I said, just sitting back thinking about it, I was like, let's just see if we can get everyone together once, answer some questions, come up with some common terminology for everyone, and then that after that first one, it kind of like it blew up. So I mean, I get like probably the most frequently asked question outside of uh, when are we having club is when are we having a handler's development. So and that's usually once a month.
That's awesome. I really like that idea. Yeah, it's a good way too. And plus, once everyone doesn't have their dogs out and they're not actively training, they're able to really hone.
And it's good for a community. We like the last time we had it, we had like a little like soup like cookout kind of thing.
That's
And the
good.
time before that, we had like oh my god, we had a ton of margaritas.
That sounds
So
fun.
it's good. It's good as far as like building the community as far as the club goes.
Yeah,
So
and it's important to have good relationships with your club members.
yes,
When I'm looking at a club, I'm looking at first and foremost, do I enjoy being around these people? So I'd recommend if you're looking to getting into a club to go chat. If they ask you to pay whatever fee, go out, watch them train. Is it a positive environment? That's the biggest thing for club. When you're working dogs, it's so important that it's a positive, uplifting environment. The last thing you want to do is be working with people that are critiquing your dog. I'm not talking about constructive criticism. It's just saying things that are mean or talking about you with other club members or talking about your dog. You definitely want to look for a club that has a good atmosphere. And obviously, that might take a few visits to really see what you're working with. Or right off the bat, you might be like, yeah, these are my people. This is cool. So that's the biggest thing. And then their experience is equally as important. I mean, it probably is more important, but it just depends what you're looking to get out of club, I would say. There is a big difference between someone who could catch a dog and someone who can work a dog. People will think just because they're super flashy at a trial and like they have these nice catches, it does not mean that they can train and build your dog. I've had really great trial decoys trying to work with them through an actual issue outside of a trial and us just not be on the same page of kind of what I'm looking for. When you're looking for a club, you want it to be a positive environment, good trainers, good decoys, good people.
the vibe is so important because it's very like high stress environment training for a couple weeks.
Yep.
Especially in a new club. I mean, not that I don't particularly think I'm an asshole when I'm decoying. I think I'm very, very laid back. But in some of my very limited situations, because I do try to set myself up for not getting bit. But the occasional time that happens, I do yell I yell at the handler. I'm yelling at people around at club, and it's important to see how go out the club, and if it's a new club, to see how people respond to that.
Yeah, I agree. So when you're going out to a club too, like they're also evaluating you, even if it might not seem like it, even if they're not, asking a million questions or like engaging with you a ton. Which I'm not saying that that's right, but not every club will give you the time of day when you. The last thing that you want to is people coming to a club that you can't trust and that are just going to go around talking about you. Oh, Lucas was an asshole to this guy. Lucas is such a prick. You know what I mean? So, which he's not, but you get what I'm saying.
It depends who you ask.
I think people that know you well will say
Yeah.
that you're not.
Um, but I mean, as far, I don't think you really miss much. I think that's super important. Going out there when we have new club members. If someone messages me, Dave, Megan, Julianne, those are the four main people they'd message. The first couple times dogs come out, I won't charge them.
Yeah.
And if it's a
I've
green
heard of
dog
some clubs
who's,
that do and some clubs that don't. So
yep.
I
And
think,
I mean, there's good on both sides of that. It does help filter people out to see if people are serious or not. But I have 37 dogs I'm working. One more is not going to fucking kill me.
yeah,
But like we had a new person come out this week, and I told him straight to his face. I was like, I'm not charging you until your dog starts working.
yeah,
Me dancing around a flirt pole with a rag on it. With your dog, and the dog's it's an off breed dog, wasn't really engaging at all. It's not. I'm not going to charge you. I'll charge you when I'm really working the dog, when they start showing interest in it,
well,
and
that's really
that's
generous of you.
and that's how I mean that's how I built the entire Shogun program.
So when you're looking for a club member, what are your ideal attributes, I guess?
Dedicated, hardworking. They're not. Like just like our club vibe. They're serious, but they're fun, right? They're loose. They handle high stress well, and they don't go behind fucking people's backs and talk shit.
Yeah,
And it's hard not to. I have a lot of people. I get it. I have a lot of people that come from different clubs. I mean, you've seen the mix of people I have come to club. You
yeah,
know, it can be hard, right? You're working your dog's moving in a way that it's supposed to be, and a new dog comes out from a different club, and they're looking for a new home, and their dogs just look a little lackluster. It's hard just not to be like, what the fuck were they doing, right? But with that being said, is like our new club members I want to make sure they're all on the same page. We try to stay as drama free in the club. So I look for when I get a new club member or someone that messages me for uh, coming out. The first thing I do is I just make sure when they come out, they're kind of involved. They're asking questions. I will say this: Dave is awesome talking to new club members. He
yeah.
is
He just has a personality that's like welcoming. I feel like because he's just so chill and just kind of
super
nonchalant.
chill. He nonchalantly will just kind of start a conversation with you, and he's been phenomenal as far as helping me out because I'm working dogs. So he'll walk up and just start the conversation, and he lets me know, if it's a good vibe, they're talking what they know, and he'll pick their brain a little bit. But I just like to see where they even where they stand at. I've had people that come out. I mean, the field that we train at.
Hmm.
Uh, I've had people come out to the field and just the entire time sit in the very back, and they're not talking to anyone. And I'm like, well, that's not it's not necessarily for me, but I don't judge off the first time they come out. I like to give people a couple
Give him another
club days.
chance.
It's a lot. I will say that our environment's a lot different than a lot of other clubs.
Yeah,
It's a lot of shit going on. I think during the summertime, we have upwards. I mean, the one time I think we had you, Andrew, and EJ out, and myself, we had 52 dogs or 53 dogs. That's when
yeah.
we did that round robin.
That was a good day for you because
Okay.
EJ, Andrew, and John, and then you obviously were literally just each one had a square,
A
and
little,
we're just
yep.
running through dogs. There were so many dogs that day.
And so I get if I got like a new club member coming out on a day like that, that could be a little much. I
Yeah,
get it. It's not just 10 or 12 people training. Um,
yeah,
But so for the most part, just like I said, I look for that they're dedicated, they want to be involved, and I want to see exactly what they're working on with their dog, obedience wise, before bite work.
yeah. I think that's important too.
And
Um,
and we are moving into as we get a little older, and like I think when we hit the 2 year mark, we are not going to be openly accepting every club member.
yeah,
So we will be it will be a senior club member vote. to see who stays and who stays as a guest.
Yeah, I think that's important too, is just everyone kind of being on the same page for adding or subtracting members. I want to go back to what you said about the high stress environment, like how people handle stress, because I think that's really important. It's really easy when you have like one person with a really poor attitude when things aren't going their way could really ruin the club atmosphere and the club feel. At the end of the day, we all have that. It's easy to let your emotions get the best of you, but like, how are you also recovering? We always talk about dogs' recovery, but like, how are you guys recovering when you have a bad session with your dog? Are you sitting in the pissed off for the rest of the club, or are you going to get over it and like keep moving forward? I think that's really, there's definitely some people that just have a really big attitude after a session doesn't go their way, and you can't even really talk to them, and you're just kind of like, then it just becomes awkward, and you're, really turned off by that. I'm really turned off by it, that specifically. Like, it's really important to have a good attitude, whether or not, like, regardless of the outcome of the session, of a trial, this or that. At the end of the day, dogs will be dogs. They're not robots. They're living, breathing. When you feel your first trial, it sucks, but it's a part of the process, and there's nothing wrong with failure. Because if everything went perfect all the time, you would not learn a single thing.
When I mean, I'm not perfect. I have horrible club days. Chakra doesn't want to do it. Whatever. She's a soft dog. You can't be hard on her. It's unfair to expect that decoy then to go back out into that field and now decoy the way you want them to for your dogs. But then when your dogs have an off day, you got to go soak in the fucking corner, be miserable. You don't help with any. I cannot stand that.
Yeah.
I know it's a little different. Like I get there's a lot of clubs out there that have multiple decoys. That's not our club. I decoy almost 90 fucking percent of the dogs that we have, and you catch me in the middle of August, middle of July. It's fucking 90 degrees outside, and you had a fucking 5 minutes of just a shit training session. You're off in the corner sulking. There's nothing that would make me kick you out of fucking club faster.
Yeah.
Nothing. There's nothing. I can't fucking stand that. Like, they're a dog. Put them up. Don't take it out on them.
Try again later or tomorrow.
Try again later. And half the time when people really force the situation, then you end up, you want to talk about, then you're building a shitty relationship with your dog.
Yeah.
So I'm not into that. I despise people that sulk over shitty training sessions.
One of the biggest reasons why you can't get kicked out of a club is if your dog looks the same week after week after.
I think a lot of people, when they see those upper level dogs, PSA 2s, I mean, even some of the 1 dogs, when they come out, they're training, and they're like, how do you get there? The minute you start layering the work on them, hey, this is how I did my neutrality work. This is how I did my seated decoy. This is what I did with my marker training. This is what each marker means. There's club members that just don't want to do, not mine, but there's club members in clubs that don't want to, they don't want anything to do with that. They want to come out and it's bite.
Yeah, that drives me crazy too. That's what I noticed about you too when we first met, and that's I think why I was drawn to you after initially meeting you, is because I could see the emphasis that you had on obedience. And like you said, a lot of people, especially new people I noticed, are very bite, and have no actual obedience. And what I liked about you too is, like I said in the beginning, we train similarly. So, also utilizing rewards, the ball during protection, not rewarding everything with a bite. So yeah, I definitely think that's really important.
I mean, I think partially how I train now is for sure rubbed off from how I've seen you and John train and asking questions and diving into why you guys do things, not just what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And it's definitely rubbed off on my club. Like Megan, dude, her training style has completely changed since you guys have started coming around clubs, since I've implemented a little bit of what you guys are doing. I mean, obviously I do things a little differently, but I've watched, like, she uses the ball differently now. I've seen her put a ball in her armpit.
Look at that.
That's crazy. So yeah, I put a big emphasis on not just bite.
Yeah, because I think what people forget is there are 2 phases in PSA. In case anyone didn't know, there is obedience, It's not
before
protection.
before
You tell me what you think red flags are for a club.
for, I'll go over both, like for clubs and for club members.
Yeah, let's get into
Um,
it.
Club members, the first thing I'm asking, what other clubs have you been with? How many other clubs have you been with? And why are you here?
That's important because you don't want to get someone that's been kicked out of 3 clubs for, starting drama, and then
Yeah,
you're getting the last of it. They're like, all right, well, I got nothing. I got no one
yeah.
else. So will you take me in?
And I've been there. I've had, one of my first club members was, and she lied to me, was a club member at 2 other clubs, and just unnecessary bullshit. I didn't know, and it ended up catching up to me, like early last year, middle of last year. Where it was the whole Elvis ordeal, with the messages, but it was,
Ah,
yeah, you know how I'm talking about.
yeah.
Totally unnecessary, and that could have been avoided if I just did a better job of vetting. But that's, at that point, I was when I brought her on board to be a club member, we were young in the club phase.
Yeah.
So that's a red flag. Ask the appropriate questions. How many clubs have you been in? What clubs have you been in? Why are you here?
It's just hard to trust people. I've definitely had a lot of situations, which I know, Lucas, I'm sure you've had too, other than what you've already mentioned, is, people just starting issues over social media. That's just something that have zero interest in. I don't want to see that you're starting any drama going on your story, talking about other people, talking about trainers. Recording is a big thing. Do never go to a club and start recording unless you ask, the club director or the person training their dog for permission, and then go posting their sessions online. That's another huge issue that you know
Agree.
happens sometimes.
Yeah, things, especially in the dog training world, things get taken out of context.
Is drama in clubs like normal? Is it common? Do they all have drama? So you give your take and then I'll give mine.
Yes and no. I think if you have high expectations out of your club members, it's very easy to have drama. I think it's very easy.
I think
Um,
it's also a personality thing though too. If you have a
yeah,
lot of
agree. I mean, 100%, 100%. When we had a little bit of drama. I've had drama with, you know two, maybe 3 people in 2 years, and obviously it kicked all 3 out of club. Um, our big thing is that you show up. When you stop showing up, and then I see you on social media training with other people all the fucking time, and then the little times you do come out the club, your dog's made a major aggression. I'm kicking you out of club. I'm not wasting my fucking time with you.
yeah.
And that started our drama. That started our drama. But I don't think it has to be normal. I mean, after our last incident, well, incident, after our last time we kicked someone out, we've been extremely drama free. Extremely. I think drama comes with where people they don't want to get kicked out of club. It's a pretty niche thing we do. It's hard to find clubs. Not in this area. Apparently, there's clubs all over the fucking place.
They're all just popping up though.
They're all just popping up. But on a regular, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to find a club, and I think
Yeah.
that causes conflict once people realize they can't come back to you.
Yeah. So what I'll say about club like drama in clubs, as someone who has been to a lot of IGP clubs, PSA is very welcoming for the most part. I know that some people have really negative stories, but I've honestly never had a bad experience visiting another club ever. And I've only been to a few IGP clubs, and every single time I went, it was a very negative experience. The people were not welcoming at all and very degrading. And I wouldn't say that it's normal. And if your club is just full of drama, it's probably time to find a new club, because that's not something that you want to surround yourself with.
That kind of goes back to like the red flags of like looking at a club. If I go out to a club that I'm looking to join, and I can hear the club director or the decoy director, whatever director you have, or club members talking shit about another dog that's in club, there's a difference between talking shit and constructive criticism.
Yeah.
A huge difference, and you know that's that to me. That's a huge thing. And that's with social, with the power of social media and how fast things get around and taken out of context, it's a fast way to start drama in a club.
Yeah, it's definitely not hard. Um, and you want people around you that genuinely want you to succeed, not people that don't want you to, people that are jealous of you, people that are talking down on you and your dog. I mean, we all start somewhere. Most of us started with a backyard bred dog. We didn't know what we were doing. Maybe people started with an Opry dog and then got a nicer dog down the line. But at the end of the day, we literally all start somewhere. No one just entered dog training or dog sport knowing it all.
PSA is a huge movement right now. Like you said, Taylor, the last 2 years, year and a half, it's pushed huge on social media, and everyone wants to do bite work. Everyone wants to buy a suit, catch a dog. I mean, who doesn't want to catch a dog like, with dope entries like, Fuego, for example, right? Who doesn't want to do that? It looks great for social media, but that does not make you payable. That does not make you, that does not give you the ability to build a dog up. And that's where people, that's where the money is being spent at, right? You have people, I have club members that outside of club come to me once or twice a week on top of club, right? If I was charging what some of these fucking people are charging, my club members be spending fucking $1,000 a week
Yeah, that's a lot.
on bite work, and we all know bite work does not take an hour to do. 5 minute session here, 10 minute session here, maybe. I'd even call it in the developmental phase if you have a puppy or a green dog, right? Like a 5 minute session's a long session.
Yeah.
So it's a big pet peeve that like people go through their trials and tribulations in order to gain the knowledge and experience catching dogs. I mean, I went up to a place where I was paying to work my dog and decoying and not getting paid anything for 2 or 3 years before I even felt comfortable asking for a discount, not free, a discount on working my dog up there. And a dude said no. Dude said no.
That's
So,
messed
you
up.
know, I'm not saying like if you're worth the money, you're worth the money, but in order for people to find out if you're worth the money, like you got to put a product out there. You got to title dogs, you got to trial dogs,
Yeah.
right? And I think charging dude $200 for a private for bite work, that's crazy. Don't yeah, I have a big belief too. If you're doing bite work or if you are decoying and doing privates, like you should like what you're doing. And that $200 price screams to me that you don't like what you're doing.
Yeah. I saw someone
And that's
about
that's
that.
my that's my personal opinion. Is just that there's a group of people out there that just think they're a lot better than they are, and when they really don't know a fucking thing.
What are your thoughts on your club members going to train with other clubs?
I have no problem with it. I good, get my name out there, get Shogun's name out there. I'm really confident in my dogs and my handlers that they know what good and shitty work looks like. And I'm really confident in my club members that they can advocate for their dogs if they run into a bad session.
Yeah, that's
You know,
awesome. I mean, you have good club members. I think it's important as a club to allow and be open to your club members training with other clubs, other trainers. But you need to have a decent understanding of the basic things of with the people you're working with before you're going out seeking help from other people, because the last thing that you want and the last thing your trainer and your decoy wants, and I know you will agree with this, stop going to train with other people and bringing back a million problems that weren't there last week, which you kind of just said before too.
yep.
That would be really annoying for me and for clubs or trainers that times that I've had club with people, whether I ran it or was a part of it. It's definitely specifically for PSA. Now their dog comes back, they have a shitty grip, or they're pulling, or now they're scared of can curtains because they did too much too soon. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Learn everything you can from the people that you're working with in that moment or in that club, and then as you're feeling confident and learn it, you feel like, okay, I'm at the point where I feel like I need more, I'm ready to learn more, then great, go learn from other people.
I feel like the question I always had for people that wanted to go out and train with other, train not necessarily seminars, but like go out to other club days is like, if I offer you 2 club days a week and then I offer to do a private on top of that. Why do you have to go to a different trainer at this stage?
Yeah.
And I get it. There's a difference between taking a dog that's getting ready to do a PDC and trial prep, or competing in the ones, the twos, or the threes, seeing different decoys. But when you have even say a green dog that's on the wedge, right, and you're doing like you're working on entries. What is the difference of how taking your dog from me to a different decoy for 15 minutes? That's realistically what you're working a dog in, maybe. And like, what's the difference besides the ability or the chance to mess up the consistency? I'm not saying there's a lot of decoys specifically in this area that could do a great job, but the nuance between how, say, John does something, I do something, Andrew does something, Sean Edwards does something, Ben Lipinski does something, it could be more than enough to just throw off the consistency of what the dog's seeing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not against it, but I'd like to make sure my club members can, at the bare minimum, advocate for their dogs.
Yeah.
You show up to my favorite is, well, I went to like a Friday night bite night, and we were doing fucking sends down the stairs onto a fucking jute roll. It's like, why? So what the fuck is the point for social media? Like, what the fuck is the point of that?
You just answered your own question.
So yeah, it's just yeah, big pet peeve. Big pet peeve is like, go out there, experience other decoys, but be able to advocate for your dog.
Yeah.
Learn how to say no.
Yeah, and you have to be, before you're going to go train with other people, like Lucas said, you need to be at the point where you understand what your sessions should look like. You understand what you want out of the session,
Yep.
and be able to advocate for your dog, because if he's not doing what you want, or the decoy is putting too much pressure, whatever the case, it's really easy to ruin a dog. Some people may not realize, you have a soft dog or a dog, you can have a soft dog that has a good recovery, but like if you have a soft dog that has a shitty recovery and your dog gets ran by can curtains, or there's double cans on like a 1-year-old dog that hasn't even seen one can before, that could destroy your dog. Your dog will never bite again.
Yeah.
Is that common? No, but things like that do happen for sure. Another thing that I don't know why I just thought of it, but I want to touch on this before we wrap it up, is you mentioned communication with, it kind of goes back into the same topic anyways, but you mentioned communication with your club members, that your communication is so well that you're confident that when they do go out and train with other clubs that they will advocate. So I wanted to give an experience that I had. I started working Simba, 2024? I started working Simba in 2018 is when I first started working Simba. It was at a trainer in Maryland. And during our sessions, I would constantly be confused. There was zero communication. Anytime I would ask, why are we doing this? Or why are you doing this? What's going on? There were never any real answers. I remember it was literally agitation for months. Months he would be back tied, and they would literally just do agitation. At the time, I didn't even know what it was called. I just knew that my dog was getting put on a leash, and they were going to go antagonize him, make weird noises. You remember that? Mm-hmm. Make really weird noises. It's like Call of Duty Zombies, like the kind of noises that these decoys would make at Simba. Basically playing Boogeyman for 6 months. I never even told you this, Lucas. I would never name the trainers. They're really, really good people. I just think that they're really way behind on their times. They would literally did Boogeyman for 6 months, if not more. Jesus. And the first time, I remember they would run around with like a little washcloth, like a rag, like a towel, and like hit him with it. Simba's getting lit. He loved it. Don't get me wrong. He enjoyed it. It was fun. The first time he ever was offered a bite, they were using a Schutzen trial sleeve, like a full trial sleeve, not like a half sleeve, not a quarter sleeve, a full trial sleeve. We're doing agitation, got really close. So at that, they got really close and then literally just presented it to him. He bit it for a minute. The decoy, I guess, just became static. And then Simba came off and was just kind of really confused about what was going on. When I asked, what happened in that situation, what was that basically? Their response was, he's just not ready to bite. Obviously, knowing what I know now, it was just not great protection work. But that was probably the most conversation or communication that I had about his protection. You remember when we went to Canine Met? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is it. This is a good story. it's a good story because it made me realize that I didn't know shit. The trainers that I was working with, like I said, I don't want to talk bad about them, but they really don't know what they're doing. So at this point, Simba had maybe a year, or maybe like 9 months of protection training, which was mostly just agitation with like maybe 2 bites thrown in there, maybe three. So I thought that I had like a protection dog. I wasn't going around flaunting it or anything. Like I didn't have this crazy ego about it. But when I went to New Jersey to visit, I had Simba with me, and I was there for a month, so I wanted to keep training him. A lot of you guys probably know him. You probably know him. You know Canine Matt on Instagram?
Who?
Canine Matt. I don't know if that's still his handle. It was, at least back then. He does like bullies. I think he does APPDA.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So he was really cool. Matt was. I brought Simba there. He's like, oh, what are you guys working on? I'm like, shit if I know. I don't know. Biting. They're like, oh, like, does he bite? I'm like, yeah. I pull him out. He like kept biting and coming off. I had no idea. I was so embarrassed because here I am like saying my dog bites, and I knew that Matt was like big on social media. Not that I thought, he would post it or anything, but I was just really embarrassed. When you think your dog is here and then you bring it to someone, he's like not even biting, your whole world just like crumbles down for a second. You're like, what the fuck? Like, what have I spent the last 9 months doing then if I'm going to bring my dog out and he's not going to bite? I was so discouraged. I literally went in my car and was crying about it. He even still had issues when we went to California. I mean, Sherrod spent a long time working on his problems and like actually developing him because, the poor training that we had beforehand. So I just wanted to share that story of why. I know I kind of jumped off the deep end, but communication is important because all this could have been prevented had I known what we were doing, had I known I shouldn't just go to a new place and new decoy and do a full send, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for like when you go out to club, like your club, and this is something I'm pretty big on with our club members is before they bring their dogs out, the first thing out of my mouth is like, okay, what are we working on? I already know what we're working on, but I like to hear them voice it to me.
Yeah.
Because when they go somewhere else, if they go somewhere else, that's how they're gonna. That's what they're gonna ask you. What are you working on?
And have a plan. Be proactive. Don't make your decoy and trainer tell you every single time what you're working on.
It's not hard to ask your club members, what are you working on? Help them, coach them, but like let them get it out. Put it out there verbally about like what they're working on.
Yeah.
Seated decoy, neutrality. I want light pressure, right? I'm working on rear attack on handler, and then come up with a game plan.
Yeah.
One of my least favorite phrases from a decoy, just get the dog out. We'll see what happens.
We'll go with the flow.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's always important to have a plan, especially when you're actively working towards competing and trialing and stuff like that. Do you have anything that you want to add that you feel like we didn't touch on?
Yeah, when are you starting a club?
We will not be starting a club. If I wanted to start a club, we would have done so already. I'm good. I've run club before. Me and John both agreed it's really nice to just be a part of a club and not have to worry about. I mean, it's different for you because you're teaching. I've done my fair share of teaching. I've ran club for a few years in California and then Virginia. It's nice to just be a part of a club and just go there, help clean up. We didn't talk about that. Okay, this is going to be our last point. When you're a part of a club, it's super important that you're understanding that the decoys are out there working dogs all day. They should not be cleaning up equipment. They should not be doing all this extra stuff. Some decoys are nice and they'll help and stuff like that, but unless you're physically incapable of helping clean up and contributing, you have to contribute to a club. The whole point of it is that everyone's contributing something. Some more than others, like decoys, are contributing the most. Appreciate your decoys. It's really important to really acknowledge how much work they're putting into your dogs physically. I mean, it really does take a toll on them, whether they admit it or not, because most of them will not admit it, right?
Dude, just ask the decoy if they need fucking water.
Ask the decoy if they need water. Bring food to club here and there. Like, there's so many small and big ways that you can contribute to a club, because if everyone's contributing, it'll just be a better environment. It'll be more productive. Everyone will feel. There's nothing worse than the decoys feeling like they're getting the shit end of the stick. My husband being a decoy, it always ends up to being, which I'm sure you can relate, Lucas, is he's so busy working everyone else's dog that his dog gets the shit end of the stick. Or by the time it's time to work his dog, he's fucking exhausted and he doesn't even want to do much because he's so tired from working everyone else's. Or to buy our decoy lunch or dinner, or bring them a case of beer if that's their vibe. Offer them water, like Lucas said. Like, there's so many ways that you could show appreciation, even without spending money. Like, telling your decoy, thank you. I appreciate everything you're doing for my dog. I appreciate, you catching my dog. Half of these decoys have, back problems, shoulder problems, neck problems. Not you?
I'm fucking. I'm
Are you being sarcastic?
no. I'm dead ass. I fucking.
Well, maybe it's because you run 30 miles a day, but not everyone does that.
Okay,
So
it's not.
I
But
know,
I definitely do want to go off that a little bit because just what I was saying before. My club is not perfect. We do a lot of things right as far as like from if you're looking from the outside in, we do a lot of things right. Being the guy in charge though, and I decoy everyone's dogs. I'm the one giving pointers to generically just everyone in club. One of my major pet peeves that we haven't gotten right so far is my club members being proactive. That's something that I'm constantly working on. I have a lot of new club members, so it's about coaching them what I want out. And obviously from like 2 or 3 months ago to now, we have definitely made improvements as far as like who is helping, who is cleaning, who's setting up equipment, who's cleaning up equipment. But I think it's highly underestimated how much work we put in all year long, but specifically summertime.
yeah,
You get caught up in anywhere more than 20. I mean, Jersey Devils. I don't think you guys have more than 20 members, but you guys have PSA 3 dogs. You guys have PSA 2 dog. I mean, I think the majority of the club is PSA 2 dogs. Those
yeah.
scenarios, you
There's
run four or
almost
five
no
dogs.
dogs.
Yeah, you run 4 or 5 dogs. Those decoys are running back and forth for a fucking hour.
Yep.
You're running the obedience side is your club members just reading the rule book. Get familiar with the rule. Help them out a little bit. Your club directors or your obedience directors or decoy directors, they're responsible for understanding where your dog is at in bite work and obedience. It helps when you come out here and you're like, the fucking rules.
Yeah,
I think it's not just elevating yourself, you elevate the club,
yeah. I agree.
right? I am huge with that. I don't need to personally just get better. Our club needs to get better
Yeah,
all the time, right? And that's why we do the handler development. That's why we do the decoy development. That's why we host private seminars for the club members only. So yeah, I'm big with that. It's like help your fucking decoys out though. Yeah, it's a club. I mean, you guys are a
we're all there
community.
to grow together and help each other out, not you know have all these
Yeah,
tiers
and
of
it's such a stupid thing to let cause a division in club.
yeah,
That's a quick way to have your decoys really build up some animosity
yeah.
towards the handlers.
Then they're not going to want to work your dogs ever.
No, nope,
Next time you
not
ask
that.
your dog
Not
if you worked for that second session, they're going to say, "Well, fuck you because you didn't
yeah,
finish your
fuck you,
job."
dude. I ain't coming out. I'm not saying I've been there, but like I've definitely come close to the point where I'm like, why would I work? Why would I work your dog?
Yeah, you're getting all heated now. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about, guys. Lucas is living it in real time. You have anything
Like
you want to add?
you get that mustache in here.
I can't because the camera's over there,
Oh,
and he's holding the baby, and the baby's finally sleeping. All right. Well, do you have anything else, Lucas?
no,
I'm really
I'm
happy
good.
with the topics that we covered.
I'm super
Sorry,
happy.
guys, in advance. So my camera's all the way across the living room. So I'm trying to look at Lucas at the same time because when you're talking to someone, you like to look at them. But I'm also trying to look at the camera. So when I'm going back and forth, that's the reason why I'll have to. My lens is it's a far lens with no zoom. So I wasn't able to. I might just have to switch my lens. But I just want to explain that before you guys think that I'm just like looking all over the place.
And where can people find this video at, Taylor?
Spotify.
Spotify.
Thank you guys for
I am
joining
on.
my first podcast with Lucas. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you. This was a long one, but I feel like there's really good stuff, especially for people looking to enter PSA or starting a club or joining a club. Any feedback is always welcomed. So thank you and good night. Say bye.
Good night.